Hello, my name is Kasey. I'm 25 and I have been following the Aron regime for almost 7 months now. I began at the end of July last year and have been following the regime ever since and have been doing very well, as you can see. The reason I'm making this video is just to kind of explain a little bit more about my story. I've posted several times on the Dr Aron Facebook group. A lot of before and after pictures, a lot of things about tiny flares I was having, and just kind of updates on my journey so far. But I think that videos can maybe be a little bit more powerful in terms of explaining somebody's journey. So I'll kind of start from the beginning. I've had eczema, I wouldn't say since I was born. Every time I ask my mum, she changes the story every single time. So, from a young age, anyway. But by about the age of 7, it got significantly worse, a lot more visible, caused me a lot more pain, and it was really much more of an interruption in my life, my mum's life too. And so I've been going to see GPs for my entire childhood, been prescribed every single cream you can imagine, every single bath, ointment, gel, I don't know, whatever, every single thing they throw at you, I've had it basically. It was kind of a up and down journey the entire way. And then about the age of 13, when I kind of really hit adolescence, that, wonderful phase, it got worse again. It was a big pronounced difference, and I lost a lot of the pigmentation in my skin from when I would have bad patches or sore patches. And so it was really bad. And so, we kind of marched into to the GP one day and was like, look, we've been doing this for God knows how many years now. We just have to see a dermatologist. And so the guy was pretty scared, I think, and so sent me to see a dermatologist who prescribed me 2 steroid creams, Umavate and Elicon, to put on the face and the body, which I then used sporadically for the next 10 to 12 years. Times of flares, times when I was run down. It's kind of hard to remember and piece it all together now, looking back, but there were times I would use it a lot more, and probably more than I should have been using it, and then other times it was fine. Then as I kind of got into my later teens, I started growing out of it, as I thought that it was, but, I have no idea. And then 2.5 years ago, I moved to France, and it got dramatically better. Really had no trace of eczema whatsoever. Was just using daily moisturizers. I was using double base to moisturize, and even I could even use kind of regular shop bought lotions and really didn't have any reaction. Whereas before I couldn't put anything different on my skin without it kind of flaring up, getting red, itchy, and all that. So I was convinced that it was the good weather. I was in the south of France. I was getting lots of sun, and it was, a completely change of lifestyle. And so I just kind of hoped I was maybe going through a body transition, or it was the climate, that it was the end of my eczema. And then in November 2014, I had a reaction to something, and my skin got really, really bad, and so I plopped the steroid on, as I usually did, and it would usually, take 2 or 3 days to completely go away, and it didn't. It just kind of got, not progressively worse, but it just kind of stayed at the same level of not really working. And so I was a little bit confused in what was going on, and so spoke to it about a work colleague, and she suggested that I cleanse my body, as she called it, and to go through that and just basically rid my body of the steroids, rid my body of all these different things, change in diet, change in all these kind of things. So I switched to organic vegan, cut everything out, stopped drinking alcohol, stopped taking any form of other medication, stopped basically putting anything in my body that I considered, or this weird kind of seen together as to be a poison. And this is actually what is famously called TSW. So me not knowing what this was, nor the implications, and thinking that I was doing a thing of using a system that safely and healthily fixed my body. I was using green clay. I was drinking green clay. I was eating very, very, very raw kind of vegan diet, really convinced that everything I put in my body, if it was coming on the outside, it was a poison that I had to get rid of. So as you can imagine, anybody that has done TSW or knows anyone that has gone through it or seen kind of the pictures that people have been posting, you know that it's a really, really traumatic, awful, dreadful time to go through for anybody. I mean, it literally completely tore my life apart, and if I had any idea that it would have been that bad, I would never, ever have done it. But at the time, I just really didn't know what I was getting myself into, and was just convinced that what I was doing was a good thing. I was seeing, in terms of my body, I was losing weight and things like that. And so every year I want to lose weight. I was like, okay, this must be working. I'm seeing, physical changes in terms of my size, but then my skin just seemed to get progressively worse. Blah, 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 the whole story. And so my story is a little bit unique because I found Dr. Aron completely by chance, not from any internet sites or speaking or on any blogs or Twitter, Instagram, which we now have. I actually found him from a guy in the park. And so I was in Monaco in the park, and a guy was staring at me, scratching away like a dog, crazy, you know how we are. And he came up to him and was like, oh, do you have eczema? And I was like, yeah, duh. Can you see what's going on here? Anyway, so he was like, oh, I know this really good doctor. He treated me and my wife. You should speak to him. Honestly, this is an amazing treatment. Send him some pictures. Contact him. I'll give you his number. He'll send you the creams, and in a week you'll be cured. And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. I've been suffering for 8 months, torturing my life, and this guy was like, yeah, in a week some guy from South Africa is gonna cure you with this magical cream. So while I got over the fact that this guy wasn't hitting on me, he was actually trying to help me, I smiled politely and took the number, and he left. Anyway, so I went home, didn't really give it a second thought, just kind of went away. And then the following week I had an awful, dreadful week through TSW, just skin seeping, everything gross, you know how it is. And so I looked this guy up, looked up the famous Dr. Aron, looked at the case studies, and saw incredible pictures. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. Children and adults and looking even worse than I was looking at the moment, and I was convinced I had the worst skin in the world. And I just was completely broken down, laying on my floor, crying in agony and pain, and called my mom, and she was like, look, you have nothing to lose. You have gone through this for so long. You've suffered so much. Like, you have to just give it a try. And it was obviously very hard in the beginning to kind of initially move to that point to know that I was going to start using steroids again, because like anybody knows who's done TSW, how everybody has that fear of steroids. And it wasn't necessarily a fear of steroids I had a fear of anything pharmaceutical. I wouldn't even take paracetamol at this time. I was absolutely petrified of everything. So that psychological step for me was kind of really important. It was a really big step to kind of get over and to really accept that I was moving to a different form of treatment in the hope that it would work. But I mean, at the time I was so down, I think I was just, almost would have taken anything that would have given me a bit of relief. So I contacted Dr. Aron, we shared a couple of emails, I sent him my photos, and then he sent me my prescription, and I flew back to the UK to do my first week of treatment, because he prescribed 7 days bed rest, which, great. Doctors told me to stay in bed for 7 days, awesome. So I flew back to England so that my mom could take care of me, and started the regime. So I landed in the evening and went home that night and put my first application on just before bed, bearing in mind that before this, during TSW, for 8 months I'd had no more than 3 hours sleep a night. Disturbed sleep, scratchy sleep, bleeding, seeping, horrible, awful, miserable sleep. And the first night that I put on the compound, I slept for 8 hours and woke up the next day and just couldn't believe it. Just was so emotional, just from the fact that I'd slept for once, and so emotional the way I was feeling, and my skin felt calmer. It was less hot. It was less, everything was still there. It was not an overnight miracle by any means, but just the fact that from one application I was able to sleep the night was just incredible. And so from then on, I carried on, did the first week of 6 applications, and then gradually reduced. I had a flare on my legs and my arms probably about 3 weeks in, but again, I'm going to say that's self-induced because I've now which I've seen a lot of people actually, I've now seen that people are able to identify their triggers. Triggers for me are too much alcohol, certain foods, like starchy foods, white breads, white pastas, kind of anything processed, that whole like scary McDonald's world, which in general is killing us, so that's not a bad thing. And stress and lack of sleep, they're kind of my main things. And even now, I'm 7 months in, and even it's a lot less, but even now if I'm tired, I'll start to itch, starts to get a little bit like scratchy and tingly and stuff. So it's just kind of really being able to control my lifestyle, control my life with this cream. So I'm currently at 1 app every other day on face and body. As you can see, I'm wearing eyeliner, mascara, and a little bit of brow. But I've purposefully not put anything on my skin so you can see what it's like. And I'll post the photos in the comment, but bearing in mind, so this was maybe the first week, about the first week. This was me, looking good. And then that was January. Then this next one was, this is the famous photo. This was February. You know, looking really good. As you can see, nice little flakes all in the hair there. Do a little bit of a zoom on the eye. Yep, you know, that's me. Hi. So, yeah, massive changes. Incredible. Got my life back. So good, so fun. And so now my only problem is to control my lifestyle because I'm normal. And I've never been normal before. And it's so, so fun because guess what? You don't scratch all day and you don't spend your day thinking about your skin and you don't worry about, going to a friend's house and leaving flakes on the sofa or waking up to a big flaky bed in the morning. And so, yes, I'm feeling really good, really positive, loving life, very happy, loving working with everybody who's working on the Aron campaign, and really just want to do as much as I can to push this out there. So, like I said, this video is just a little insight into my journey with Dr. Aron so far. And I'm about to start on Monday, going down to 3 applications a week because, feeling good, everything's good. Some of the times I think as people will, agree with me, when you get further into the regime, you forget, you kind of miss one, laziness, all these kind of things. And that's happened a couple of times to me and I haven't really seen any kind of bad reaction. So I'm about to start to go down, which is very exciting. So yeah, this is my story. And anybody is welcome to ask me any questions or anything. If not, I hope you like this video and I hope I didn't talk too fast and I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye!